suspiciously. Gets to me, take a photo, boom, walk in. Instantly, the Customs and Border Patrol agent goes, "Step aside, sir. An agent will come and take you to another location." I was like, is that proper protocol? It's like, sometimes it happens. It's very obvious that they knew exactly who I was. It's very obvious that they knew how to like navigate the conversation. The thing that they asked me, he's literally not allowed. Like, what do you mean? Why is this denying me entry into the country of my birth? You can't just stop me at the border and be like, what's your opinion on Donald Trump? You're not allowed to enter the nation.
How I got detained as a United States citizen, born and raised. And I'm just gonna go over everything, give you guys the entire story and all the details. In Spain for about a month or so, I had a layover in Berlin, Germany for around 2 hours, and then I came into the United States. And then an officer told me I needed to go to the right. So I go to the right, I get asked questions by another officer. He asked me where I'm coming from and what I did for work. That officer then took me to a room, which I did insert a photo of, and I will give you guys again here, which this is the first room I was taken to. From there, they told me to sit back down, and then they transferred me to another room. That other room, the officer asked me what I did for work, exactly why I was traveling. I said the same thing, I did TikTok. From that point, I normally saw people either leave after the first room or the second room. They were just good to go. For some reason, they had me go. Now, another officer was escorting me down to the escalators past Border Patrol. From there is this like baggage claim area. There was an officer standing in front of this baggage claim. Keep in mind, this is like all blocked off. And then there's another officer on the other side. When I was there, my baggage already had been taken for some odd reason. So he told me to continue walking. Then there's rooms, and that's where they asked me to provide my social media accounts for them to go through my TikTok, my Snapchat, my Instagram, my Facebook. They didn't do anything about it. They kind of just took my phone and searched through everything. I don't really know what they were looking for. I don't have more answers. I complied with every single thing that they asked. I didn't give them a hard time about anything because I'm more scared than anything.
I was actually going to make a video a couple months ago about basically all these tourists getting detained by Homeland Security, and lots of them actually even being imprisoned by Homeland Security because of things either to do with visas or just suspicions Homeland Security, whether that be the border or ICE, had about them. And there's been so many horror stories at this point. And what happened with a lot of those stories, as terrible as they weren't really political. Like, non-Americans traveling to the US weren't being held because they've been vocally supporting like Palestine, or they'd made, you know, criticisms of Donald Trump or something like that. I'm sure there have been cases that I haven't read about where that has happened. But what's happening now, clearly, is they're using Homeland Security to go after the left generally. And of course, I'm a bit late to this, so you would have seen Hassan was actually detained on his arrival back from France, I believe, and he was questioned. I actually have another person who posted on TikTok about being detained as well, who runs an anti-Trump clothing site. I'm going to talk about that a little bit because I'm not sure if that person was politically targeted, but it's fair to say that if you are someone who has some sort of sizable platform, American or otherwise, and you've expressed like any left-wing sentiment, like from liberal to actually like socialist, it's an era where you're going to have to be increasingly like really careful if you even travel outside of the United States and come back, because I feel like it's a combination of things. Like, sure, we've seen the Trump administration like actually directly say stuff like, we're going to suspend habeas corpus, we're going to suspend basically your rights to things like trials on their immigration crackdown, which also involves like actual US citizens. And it's clear like there is this directive from the top, but it's also clear in this environment, groups like ICE are just emboldened to go after whoever they want. And it's very clear, in my opinion at least, ICE and Homeland Security just attracts the most power-hungry fascists. And although there might be some top-down, like locally in different branches, I do believe now there is a climate where these groups are essentially acting off their own accord to go after certain groups. And I will say Hassan is probably flagged on some database, but with a lot of other instances we've seen, and how just like random people get picked out of a crowd and then thrown in a cell and like treated like absolute garbage, it's pretty clear these groups are just absolutely unaccountable, even if they are like emboldened by the Trump administration. And of course, groups like ICE and Homeland Security haven't always been around. That is like a relic of the war on terror that, you know, Obama and Joe Biden both used, as well as Donald Trump. But I just want to talk about this in this really scary climate right now, especially in regards to America, and just talk about like how you can keep yourself safe, talk about the precautions, and also if you want to take one thing away from this video, please do not go to America if you have any sort of public presence on the internet where you've expressed left-wing sentiment. Like, seriously, don't go. I'm sure loads of you maybe have even gone and you've been fine, but at the same time, this is like a very real threat now. It's not just like Hassan is the only example of someone being detained for their political views and stuff, right? We've seen this hysteria around Palestine is absolutely sweeping the globe. We've seen it recently with the whole outrage towards groups like Kneecap, who performed at Coachella, expressing pro-Palestine sentiment. And Hassan is just the latest victim of this. But he will not be the last. And also, there's going to be plenty of people like Hassan who've expressed these beliefs online that won't have this defense of being like a very well-known public figure who has like millions of followers and this massive audience, because so many of like mainstream press have reported on this story, right? And yeah, he says he knows this as well, and that's why he acted in the way he acted. But as he says himself, and as a lot of people are saying in reaction to him, don't act like he did. If you are detained at the border for any reason, you just make sure you don't talk to border agents. Make sure you stay quiet and also ask for a lawyer as well. Now, to shout something out that would probably get me flagged if I tried to go to the US, my girlfriend is running a half marathon this week and she's raising money for medical aid for Palestinians. Thank you so much to everyone who's already contributed. It's the final week, the final push, so if you haven't, please consider it. Thank you so much to everyone who has donated and everyone who's donated to my fundraiser at the end of last year as well. So now let's get further into the video. So by now, I'm like a couple days late. You guys would have seen this whole story. Hassan had gone to France. He comes back and then he gets stopped at immigration at the airport. Now, I originally thought Hassan was born in Turkey. Then I read today that he's actually born in the US, because I thought that'd be like another part of this, that they might be threatening like his whole citizenship. Although I'm sure they would try that stuff anyway, considering he lived in Turkey. But he made a 40-minute video on his own channel. So if you want to hear everything he has to say, go and watch that. Let's just hear him explain it in his own words.
For those of you who don't know, I was detained by Customs and Border Patrol inside of the O'Hare Airport. I get to the global entry line and they're processing everybody expeditiously. Gets to me, take a photo, boom, walk in. Instantly, the Customs and Border Patrol agent goes, "Step aside, sir. An agent will come and take you to another location." I was like, is that proper protocol? It's like, sometimes it happens. There's a detention area. I'm sitting there. There's like a bunch of terrified families. There's an old lady in a wheelchair. Finally, this agent comes out. They take me to this back room and we got to talking. And let me tell you folks, the TikTokers that talked about being detained, they were right. It was an insane situation. So it's very obvious that they knew exactly who the I was. It's very obvious that they knew how to like navigate the conversation. You know, he's like, "Oh, what are you doing in Chicago?" And I was very revealing. I was like, "I want to take my family out for Mother's Day to France, but I had to come back early from France because I have a speaking engagement at University of Chicago." And he was like, "Oh, what kind of speaking engagement?" It's like, "I don't know, some like journalism school stuff." And he's like, "Oh, well, since you mentioned that, what do you do as a job?" And I was like, "I'm a Twitch streamer." And he's like, "Well, since you mentioned that, what kind of things do you stream about?" So I was just like, "I play video games, but I also do current events sometimes." And he's like, "Since you mentioned that, do you talk about the news?" And I was like, "Yeah, I talk about the news." "So when you talk about the news, do you talk about the war?" And I was like, "What do you mean by that?" He's like, "Do you talk about Trump?" And that was the first time where I was like, what the f is this question? Like, I literally straight up told him, I was like, "Why are you asking me this?" Like, what does this have to do with anything? None of these questions are actually valid questions to ask. But I was entertaining it because, one, I didn't want to present it as being difficult because I didn't want to extend the detention. And two, I actually wanted to see how far I could take it. And I'm glad I did this because the reality of the matter is I'm profoundly privileged. I'm a public person. I have enough money to be able to fight back against this sort of thing. And they know who the I am. So obviously, the reason for why they're doing that is, I think, to try to create an environment of fear, to try to get people like myself, or at least like others that would be in my shoes that don't have that same level of security, to shut the up. And I'm going to use the privilege that I have in that moment to try and see what the they're doing. Every single thing that they ask me, he's literally not allowed. Like, what the do you mean? Why is this denying me entry into the country of my birth? You can't just stop me at the border and be like, "What's your opinion on Donald Trump? You're not allowed to enter the nation."
Obviously, that is really fucked up. Like, can you imagine any scenario where you go back to your home country and the border take you aside and start asking you like political questions and stuff, no matter like what your job is. It sounds illegal. It should be illegal. And I'm going to read some criticism because a lot of people are like really angry with what he did here and saying like he's setting a terrible example. The one thing I would say is it's a bit nuanced. Like, yeah, obviously, like he is setting a bad example if people are just taking like these clips. He is recognizing he's privileged, of course, because he knows something bad happens to him, it's going to cause like such a shitstorm, basically, because he has that power and fame and he realizes he's privileged. I would just say he's his own person. If he really understands the risks of this and he wants to like test this and then talk about it with his audience afterwards, I mean, that is his like own decision, really. I think it's a bit naive to even try and test this because at the same time, as much like clout on the internet as you have, I do think there is a potential future where the US government or people in the border would happily detain him and lock him up and use the justification that we've seen recently, people calling him like Hamas piker, you support the enemies of America. Now, unlike the UK, in theory, even if Hassan said this type of stuff, like he actually did support and like vocally supported like Hamas and stuff like that, it should be protected by the First Amendment. We know that's probably not the case. For example, if you said something like that in the UK, like you probably would be arrested if you were a high profile public figure, right? He acknowledges they're asking him all these questions like they don't know who he is when they clearly do, because they want to trip him up and potentially maybe use it against him one day. Obviously, someone who doesn't have a legal background or probably has studied a lot of cases like this, he probably doesn't know how much trouble he could get himself in by even what he's responding to in regards to this conversation, right? In terms of if he ever got into some actual like legal proceedings over something to do with this would all be used against him and it would all be used as evidence that the judge would take very, very seriously. That's sadly what happens a lot of the times. Cops are seen as like these expert witnesses. Even I was reading, they will submit their readings of like your body language as like expert testimony and shit, which the judge will take really seriously, even though we know that's such a joke when it comes to organizations like ICE just filled with these like fascist Trump sympathizers. But the silver lining is, I guess for a lot of people, he's helped reveal how there is just this massive war on free speech, especially against the left, and Trump's administration has just emboldened every single fascist piece of shit in Homeland Security to just go out of their way to harass people and intimidate people. We don't know how far this goes up to the top of the command of these groups, and it's probably fair to say that if you have tweeted something left-wing on an account that even might be linked to you, it might not be in some database yet, but that is still the threat when it comes to these things. And like he was saying as well, and we've seen examples of this, there are examples that they'll go through your phones and they'll go through your social media accounts. And if you're just going to do all of that without a lawyer, then you really are going to fuck yourself. But anyway, I want to move on before we talk about just general advice to avoiding this stuff. And here's another example of someone who is obviously way more intimidated because they know all this stuff that's been happening and they really don't have a powerful voice. So there's a TikTok user called Eyes of Sav, which she has 4,900 followers, so not like a massive following. And she talked about going through like a similar process. And again, it just seems like needless. It just seems like it's completely designed to just intimidate someone who is a US citizen. Now, she actually has a shop that has anti-Trump merch. On the site, it says, portion of every purchase goes to organizing, supporting LGBTQ plus rights, immigrants, Ukraine, Palestine, and those struggling with poverty and medical debt in America. And the site is called Trump for the Dump. But let's just listen to her experience as well.
I went through the global entry line, they scanned my eyes, and I continued walking. It had the green check mark, and then an officer told me I needed to go to the right. So I go to the right, I get asked questions by another officer. He asked me where I'm coming from and what I did for work. Then he asked me to step into this box-looking thing. It's about, 3 sides, and then he told me another officer will come and grab me. That officer then took me to a room, which I put of all skin colors. I know a lot of people think I was the only minority. And that's where I was asked my father's citizenship status. My father is an American citizen. He has been for the last 25 years before I was born. I did not have the answers to any of those questions because I would not know. From there, they told me to sit back down, and then they transferred me to another room. That other room, the officer asked me what I did for work, exactly why I was traveling. I said the same thing. I did TikTok. From that point, I normally saw people either leave after the first room or the second room. They were just good to go. For some reason, they had me go. Now, another officer was escorting me down to the escalators past Border Patrol. From there is this like baggage claim area. There was an officer standing in front of this baggage claim. Keep in mind, this is like all blocked off. And then there's another officer on the other side. When I was there, my baggage already had been taken for some odd reason. So he told me to continue walking. Then there's rooms, and that's where they asked me to provide my social media accounts for them to go through my TikTok, my Snapchat, my Instagram, my Facebook, as well as show them how much I was making daily on TikTok and show them the deposits that were being made on TikTok. And again, why I was traveling. It's the same questions all over again. They will go through your luggage. They dumped out all my things on the counter, and they were asking me if I was the only person that had packed my bags. Of course, I said yes. But it was the worst search I've ever seen in my entire life. They dumped everything out. They didn't open anything. I had pill bottles that were, in like colored containers because that's how my medication came. They didn't even open them. So I don't understand what they even searched. And then again, I was asked the same questions about what I do for work, why I was traveling, for how long I was traveling, and then more again about my father. There's around 40 officers that are just like on their phones doing I don't even know what. Keep in mind, I am the only person I see, and there was also nobody else held where I was at. They had asked me when, where, and why if I had any trips planned. Do not plan to leave the US yet. So I answered no, and he proceeded to literally scream in my face 4 times, and I told him no every single time. After about 2.5 hours to 3 hours, and during this entire thing, I was finally let go after telling them no, that I had no plans to leave the United States. I was, again, handed to around 5 different officers, I'm not sure if I made that clear, and put in around 3 to 4 different rooms. I believe 4. Now, a lot of people ask why I didn't object. I barely know my rights, and I barely know them during, like, the whole border area or wherever that you want to call it, immigration area. I have no idea what they would be. And imagine, I was already held for 2.5, almost 3 hours, and I didn't object. I was the nicest person ever. I gave them all the information they wanted, and I was still held for that long. And still treated like shit. So me objecting to anything would have just made my situation a whole lot worse.
So obviously that sounds like really similar to Hassan's one. She didn't know her rights at all. And this is just someone with like a pretty like minor TikTok following and an anti-Trump store. Like, I personally don't think she was targeted for politics like Hassan. Maybe more that her like dad wasn't born in the US and they're just like trying their luck. It feels like this whole process is just designed to get someone to say something where you can try and deport them. And that's why she's been held for so long. That's why she was being intimidated. That's why they were asking her so many questions, or they kept on asking her the same questions because they want her to give them a different answer or slip up so they can say, well, you're lying to us. And now we have reason to believe that you're, doing something illegal or whatever it is. And this, again, is someone who is a US citizen. Like, sure, maybe there is some sort of thing that could maybe flag her on the system that she's anti-Donald Trump or whatever, but I believe more it's probably a combination of racial profiling, but something to do with her dad not being born in the US, and probably just fishing. And then there's another element to it. A lot of these ICE agents are probably just bored as fuck and love throwing their power around, so they just love and get off on intimidating people. And I would say probably a lot of these dudes would probably get off on intimidating just a woman on her own as well. So it's obviously like really bleak fascist shit, but it shows you with that can pretty much happen to anyone. But now it's clear these immigration organizations are clearly going after people who are even US citizens, and we saw that with Mahmoud Khalil, we've seen this with other people, and now we're seeing it with Hassan, someone who was born in America. They are purely trying to catch you out based on your left-wing politics. And the thing is as well, people can like trick themselves into thinking this is just Donald Trump. The next Democratic president will not rein these people in. Like, ICE should have been abolished when Obama became president. ICE should have been abolished when Biden became president. ICE should not exist. Homeland Security should not be operating in this way. And the Democrats are going to let it continue to run amok. And it's like with the police forces, right? Remember how much Biden was promising them like more funding, and the way they responded to Democrats wanting them to like fund the police less. Most police, like the overwhelming majority of police, are Republicans and far right. And I would imagine that number is far higher in people who work on the border. But they're going to continue massive funding to these agencies because fundamentally, although Democrats might not like that ICE agents going out of their way to harass people who haven't done anything wrong, who have been born in the US, have their papers all in order, and maybe just purely for political reasons, fundamentally they still want them to act how they act because they serve a purpose. And part of that purpose is intimidation and is this threat of don't come here illegally or these guys are going to get you and put you into horrible conditions. Remember all those camps on the border we saw under the first Trump administration? Biden deported just as many people as Donald Trump, and he never shut these things down, right? I totally admit this is a symptom of Donald Trump's America, where these people feel far more emboldened. Like, that is obviously true. People need to stop pretending that Joe Biden didn't also let Homeland Security and ICE do these types of things as well, because it's been going on for years and years. Like the fascist J. Edgar Hoover wannabe you're seeing all over Fox News, he was appointed by Obama. So let's stop deluding ourselves thinking the Democrats are that much better on this. They're just not as extreme, and they just don't embolden these people as much. But fundamentally and ideologically, they do feel a similar way. But something important, obviously, the TikTok user said was she didn't know her rights. And Hassan actually didn't invoke his rights. He didn't plead the Fifth Amendment, didn't ask for a lawyer. And that's why a lot of people were mad, because they're like, this was the perfect opportunity to show people what you should have actually done. And you can debate that in the comments if you think he did the right thing. But I just want to read what people were saying he should have done to set the example, and what people should do if they're faced in a similar situation to these two people. So Chad Loader posted this thread on BlueSky where they spoke about Hassan. So police can question you, and it just relates to general law enforcement, not just immigration. Police can question you, and even if you say nothing, they're allowed to testify about your demeanor and body language during questioning. Most judges will allow this as a form of expert testimony. That's why shut the fuck up is not enough. You need to explicitly say, I invoke my Fifth Amendment rights. The reason you need to clearly and loudly invoke your Fifth Amendment rights for the body cam footage is so your lawyer can help you and your comrades later. Cops might not give a fuck about your rights in that moment, but please don't make your lawyer's job harder for no reason. Use the script. Dealing with cops questioning you is one of those areas where it's really important to listen to people with lived experience in these situations. There's a lot of folk knowledge and a lot of bad advice. There is a script for a reason. Don't make it easier for the cops to jam you up. There's very little you can say or do while in custody to help your situation in that moment, but you can definitely make your situation worse, and you can get your friends jammed up without realizing it. The longer the questioning goes on, the more the cops have to use. After you invoke, assuming you keep that shut the fuck up energy going, nothing is admissible. They have to stop questioning you. And a lawyer called Thomas Neville said in response, add I want a lawyer to your script. You can change your mind about whether to invoke your right to remain silent, and that change of heart can be manifested by deciding to talk to the cops. If they wear you down, you may waive that right. Once you've asked for a lawyer, questioning must stop until you've talked to a lawyer. That takes away their ability to wear you down on that front. Do both, but absolutely and unambiguously ask to talk to a lawyer. Obviously, all of that is easier said than done. Of course, in the second example, when you're just one random person who's pulled into an intimidating situation, basically on your own, and these people are just trying to intimidate you, it's obviously really hard to just be like, I invoke the Fifth Amendment, and can I have a lawyer? Can I have a lawyer? Because of course, even with groups like ICE, they don't give a fuck, really, do they? They still are going to try and intimidate you no matter what you say. But it's important to know this anyway, because if what we've seen with other examples where you actually get detained and then obviously even imprisoned by immigration forces or police, like they're saying, you can't really do anything for yourself in those moments. If they have this goal in mind of throwing you in jail, but for your legal case and for the lawyers later, it's much better that you stay quiet and don't talk to them, because as many people have said on that thread as well, it will be used against you and it will never be used in your favor. So of course, in the Hassan example, it's whatever. He can make that decision himself if he wants to expose the system. Obviously, I totally accept the criticism that he could have used this as a perfect example of what to do, rather than I'm gonna go in trying to see where this line of questioning leads, because at the end of the day, it can get him in loads of shit later, and this could easily be used against him. And on one note, to keep yourself safe generally, I might seem like a massive hypocrite saying this as someone who has a massive public presence. I have no plans to go to America anytime soon. I would have loved to go, and my girlfriend actually went just as Trump was elected, but not when he was president, to New York, and I really wanted to go, but I'm just not going to do that now, because I know there is a high risk that either I could be flagged for something to do with my politics. So I'm never going to America. But if you're going to a country like this, like America, just make sure, if you have your phone on you, log out of everything, delete the apps, and make sure your Face ID, you can unlock your phone with your face, make sure that's turned off. If you're planning on traveling and you're going to tweet some spicy shit about Americans in America, just make sure you do it on a more anonymous profile, I would say, to keep yourself safe. And it blows my mind that the Trump administration don't give a shit about what this is going to do to tourism leading up to the World Cup next year, but I guess that's what they want. They just want people to live in total fear, to be less critical of the Trump regime, and that includes just individuals on social media. But yeah, if you're an American citizen who is planning on traveling abroad, there's probably loads of you watching this video, just obviously make sure you know your rights when returning, and just be careful with your social media and your phones, and just make sure you don't have lots of stuff saved. And also, I will say as well, your pictures, because Hassan made me think of this, he had all these memes on his phone, like Donald Trump looking a certain way, for example. Maybe like delete them off your phone as well, and just be like super careful, and just think about all the ways they might try and find something. It's obviously like crazy. There's even examples of them doing this, but just in your mind, think of these people being out for blood. Like, they want to arrest people. They would love to do this. Ideologically, they'd love to do this. And psychologically, they'd get off on doing this. So just don't give them any excuse, and just make sure you're careful. And my best advice to anyone who's not American, especially with a high-profile social media account where you might talk about politics sometimes, don't go to America. Just completely avoid it at this point. Like, even if you want to go to the World Cup next year, go to the games in Mexico and Canada. Don't go to the games in the US. So yeah, late with this one, but that is it for the video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and if you made it this far, thank you for watching.
Hardpoint is active. Hostiles have captured the hardpoint.
Unlawful detentions and deportations of student activists. The fact that the federal government is literally conducting investigations that basically revolve around like slop tuber drama is alarming, okay? Yes, that is what is going on here. That is what is alarming about the situation. Still crashing out pure cinema. Oh my God. Oh, chatter. I am a political commentator talking about my own personal unlawful detention by Customs and Border Patrol, which is a matter that has escalated so severely that international news is covering it because it is unprecedented in its nature, while simultaneously talking about the dangers of what this means for the future of all Americans, okay, in a country where the government is saying that they want to deny habeas corpus. This is my job. It happens to be a unique instance where it's not only my job, but it's also something that I have personally experienced. This is not a crash out. This is called political commentary. I know that so many of you are so firmly locked in on drama and slop and can't understand news and commentary and news coverage without thinking everything is drama, or without thinking everything is slop. It's very frustrating. About not even mentioning this because I was like, I don't want to give him any.
Okay, so that's the first lie here. Does anybody actually believe that he actually thought of not mentioning this?
He actually instantly tweeted about it, and since then reposted it dozens of times.
The reality of the matter is 100% the Trump administration is working with a lot of these
That's right. I made the call yesterday when
No. Oh my God. Oh my God. It's extra frustrating because not only is this incredibly stupid, but it's extra frustrating because I know the audience is incredibly stupid and they don't have the reading comprehension here, and all they will do is listen to Asmongold's framing on the matter. My opinion here is the unique nature of the federal government's incompetence paired up with their interest in violating people's constitutionally protected First Amendment rights. It's not only incredibly dangerous, but it's also incredibly incompetent. It's incredibly incompetent. For example, and this is an example that I used in my commentary yesterday, the Trump administration's Central Command used targeting from a random Twitter user, and in the process of using targeting from a random open source intelligence account from the Netherlands, they ended up killing 8 civilians in Yemen because of one of the targets that they had created. This random open source intelligence account living in Netherlands caused the military to go and strike a random area in Yemen. The State Department has actively worked with organizations like Beitar that are insane. They're terrorist organizations. Like they have 501c3 status, but they're like very actively and known to be terrorist organizations. They claim to be open Kahanis and Jabotinsky supporters. These guys are creating the deportation list for the federal government. That's the reason why Ramiza Öztürk was detained. That's the reason why she almost got deported for writing a article on a student newspaper. This in and of itself is so shocking and so alarming. And my job is to, of course, talk about this from the perspective of free speech. It is my job as a political commentator. These guys do not understand anything. They think everything is drama. They do not understand how this can impact them as well.
Hassan wasn't in the country. He was in France or whatever. And I was like, Donald, all right, we've got our chance. He's going to be coming back in a day or so. So just, yeah.
Are playing a formative role in getting people in trouble with the law.
Yes, that's the point. We don't want people supporting terrorism, promoting terrorism on the platform. That
he proved the point that I was making. I'm 99% sure it was the Trump administration is inadvertently working with a lot of these but Asman's editor cut out the inadvertent part. I don't know what the original comment I made was. I don't remember, but I mean, I guess we can find it and look at it and see if he actually cut that part out. These dumbass slop tubers are actually playing with fire. And I even thought about not even mentioning this because I was like, I don't want to give him any sort of like power over the situation. But like the reality of the matter is 100% the Trump administration is inadvertently working with a lot of these dip are playing a formative role in getting people in trouble with the law. Okay, that is literally the case, but it doesn't matter because he then turns around and admits that, like, yeah, we want that. We want this to happen. We want the federal government to go after people that we don't like the speech of. Like, he then turns around and admits the point that I was making, which is that this is dangerous. You're playing with fire. Like, what an insane statement. Like, what's the argument here? That you want me to be in federal prison because you don't like my commentary on American foreign policy? What a psychotic thing to admit. This is the type of that should instantly cause someone like this to, and their fan base to go, what the do you mean? You want a Twitch streamer to go to federal prison because you don't understand and like his commentary on American foreign policy? What the kind of free speech absolutism is this? So you're not a free speech absolutist. You are not a free speech defender at all. What's shocking about this is that it doesn't even revolve around like genuinely held convictions or political disagreements. It's just simply drama and how much the algorithm will feed Asmongold. That's what's so psychotic about it. Bro, it's just a hateful what don't you get? No, I get that. I understand that. What are you talking about? What these guys do not understand is they just stand on this position and they personally think that this won't actually impact them at all, okay? And they're stupid for it. Oh, here, this was the tweet. I also retweeted this as well, but here, he also had these statements as well. Really interesting was in the actionable side of things. Yeah. They also asked, have you ever interviewed a member of Hamas? Have you ever had a communication or correspondence with a member of Hamas, Hezbollah, or the Houthis? Now, what's really insane about that is that as someone who works in media, sometimes I do actually do journalism, right? As I've maintained this position over and over again. And I said that I would
journalism is when you tell people that they're like anime characters.
Bro, be for real. Asmongold defended you at the start of all this and extended charitability on almost all occasions until you continue to slander him. What do you expect? Back at the end of the day, what are you talking about? What the are you talking about? I've never even demanded that he gets banned off the platform. You know that, right? Even when he said Palestinians are an inferior culture that deserves to be genocided. You understand that? He's been calling for my ban and now has elevated that to calling for my permanent detention by the federal government because he doesn't like my commentary. This isn't petty drama, you moron. This is real happening to me, and one day will happen to you. If it can happen to me, okay, a person with a public figure status, why the do you think you're protected? God damn. You literally talked to him to explain to him after that statement like you extended so much charitability? I know. What is this like? Oh, dude, he's not charitable anymore. I don't care if he's charitable to me, dumb. There's a difference between charitability from Asmongold or whatever and also actively supporting the federal government, packing up people that he personally has a distaste for their opinions. Like, what do you mean? He's been calling me a terrorist for months at this point. A decade of improving this space and making it a kinder, more inclusive space, and Asman just sends it on a rocket back to Nazi hell. They're going to be saying slurs again by next year. I mean, they already are. What do you mean? Think about how many people we ban on a daily basis. Yeah, if Asmongold left this rotting ass house for once and actually left the goddamn country to get on a plane, which I assume would be a biohazard to begin with, so he might not actually be able to get on the plane. But let's say he took a shower and he wasn't actually a risk to others around him, and he got on a plane and he flew out of the country, came back into the country under the Biden administration, and the Biden administration detained him and were asking him about his personal politics, about titties in video games, or whatever or his support for the AFD, and saying, well, under our administration's perspective, the AFD is actually a dangerous far-right radical group, or the fact that he, you know, named his WoW character after Anders Breivik or something. Do you think that his audience would not talk about how much of a cancel culture backed movement was taking place here? Of course they would. They would lose their minds. They would understandably lose their minds. You want to know why I know that? Because people on Twitter get mad at Asmongold and he cuts content about how he's been canceled over and over again, and millions of people cry alongside him. This is not a cancellation. This is a violation of the First Amendment rights that every American citizen has. It's a violation of numerous rights. That's precisely the reason why so many, like ACLU and so many of these other civil rights organizations and litigators have come out to be like, this is completely unacceptable. Do you not understand this? I like that we are also in the process of seeing how fascism manifests in the collective consciousness as well. Like, how many people find themselves staring directly at a situation like this that might even impact them in the long run and refuse to entertain the notion that this is completely unacceptable, refuse to entertain that the idea that like this should not happen, and they just go along with it and say, nah, it's a person that I don't personally like, so I cannot comprehend how this would somehow turn on me one day, okay? This is how fascism takes place. This is how people cheer for authoritarianism. When you look at the current government and you make this calculation, understand that you are basically advocating for your rights to be taken away as well, erroneously, ridiculously, arbitrarily. It's not about your own personal opinions of me, okay? It shouldn't be about that. It's not about that. It's not about your own personal opinions of my commentary in general. It's about your rights, because my rights are also your rights. We are both American citizens.
Journalism is when you tell people that they're like anime characters.
For the record, you might not like my conduct in a conversation that took place with someone that I thought was a Houthi, found out he wasn't a Houthi, and then chose to humanize. But that doesn't mean that there isn't journalistic value in that conversation. As a matter of fact, yes, there was journalistic value in that conversation. It was a scoop that many in the media also tried to get. Just because you don't agree with it doesn't mean that that is not a valuable conversation that took place. There were plenty of valuable pieces of new information that came out of that, like, for example, the fact that we learned that he is not a Houthi, or the fact that we learned that he actually has no issues with Jewish people as long as they are anti-Zionist. So he was just some other terrorist? What the are you? Okay. No, he wasn't. Terrorism isn't just like brown person that I don't like. I know that you're using it as that as a catch-all term, but that's just gross and racist. No, he's just a 19-year-old Yemeni who supports the Houthi movement, who supports the Ansar Allah movement. So the other side of this, for the record, the other side of this that is like really dangerous that I wanted to also talk about is the fact that material support for terrorism is illegal in this country, as in you are not allowed to offer financial help to a designated terror group. You are not allowed to offer logistical help, training, things of that nature to a designated terrorist group. But this administration is trying to muddy the waters, as previous administrations have as well, in an effort to erode First Amendment protections. They want to make it so that speech is considered material support as well. There are court cases that have been set forth already to get to this point. They are trying to blur the lines between offering any sort of commentary or any sort of support verbally for a designated terror group. They want to turn that into material support, which is already under existing law as being illegal. This is a severe violation of the First Amendment protections. That is by design. They are trying to do this to take away the constitutional protection that you and every American and every non-American on U.S. soil has. You understand? That's the point of contention here.
I don't want to be too particularly mean, but if Hassan was as big of a journalist as he claims he would be, maybe Bernie Sanders would sit down with him for more than 15 minutes.
Once again, Asmongold, I don't even consider myself to be a journalist, but journalists do. It's not my consideration. I routinely say I'm not a journalist, although I do have the capacity to sometimes do journalism, as I mentioned here. I know words are very difficult for you to comprehend, but also what I simply don't understand is there's just such a basic thing that you can Google here. Like, I didn't just talk to Bernie Sanders once. I talked to Bernie Sanders for a longer period of time before then. Like, I don't understand. We're just like, how many hours do I have to talk to Bernie Sanders until, I guess, Asmongold considers me a journalist? Is Theo Vaughn a journalist since he had a 2-hour conversation with Bernie Sanders? Is that how this works? Is there a Bernie Sanders metric? Normal media hits on NBC or whatever also take 10 minutes. Not even 10 minutes. Oftentimes it takes 9 minutes. Like, it's a certificate where if Bernie Sanders talks to you over a certain period of time, then you're considered a journalist, I think. Isn't the whole point to invalidate people actually researching and declaring the truth in his little clips to make that factual, since everyone will just listen and not do their due diligence? Yes.
Not trying to be mean, but you're extremely mean. Stop trying to act like you're a journalist.
I'm not. I don't say I'm a journalist. I say I'm a Twitch streamer and a political commentator. But a Twitch streamer and a political commentator does have the capacity to do journalism from time to time. That's just the truth. Now, ironically enough, once again, I don't say I'm a journalist, but journalists do consider me to be a journalist. That's part of the reason why journalists like Ested Herndon from the New York Times will have me come and speak at the University of Chicago, as I did yesterday, to talk to an entire room about modern media. Someone came up to me at the airport, a Hassan Abihed, said that she wrote her thesis on me, said that apparently in Northeastern, the college that she went to, that there were 3 media courses specifically designed around what I do in new media and politics. The space that we're in is relatively new, and I try to do my very best, but it seems like people who study journalism, they consider this to be a new area of journalism. Having said that, once again, I don't consider myself to be a journalist. I don't say I'm a journalist, but international media certainly does. Tell him he's a house troll. Stop trying to pretend his opinions have any basis in reality. He's not even a part of society. I know. And I already do plenty of that as well. But the unfortunate reality is that there are a lot of dummies out there who do take his word as bond. So we are trapped in this unique space where I have to entertain the stupid ass arguments that he's trying to put together. I would have given the opportunity to talk to someone that is a part of the Ansar Allah movement, a Houthi, or even Hamas, or even Hezbollah, right?
Nobody would be criticizing that. And you guys remember, I defended him interviewing this guy until I watched it and I saw the entire thing myself.
I like that he also thinks that, like, his opinion is worth anything. How deluded do you have to be like, yeah, you know, I'm a real mover and shaker in this space. A guy who hasn't washed his ass in 8 months.
Because I agree with this in essence, but not in this practice.
Oh, it doesn't reach the standards that Asmongold has for journalistic ethics. Guy who watches Tyler Oliveira videos every broadcast to go, yeah, based. Oh, my bad, dude. Thank you. Who died and made you the journalism pope, brother? I think that I have the right to do so. And what was interesting, you don't do journalism, you grift. I know, chatter. That's why the federal government is trying to arrest me. Yes, because I'm grifting too hard. Still has more views than you? Yeah, I know. He's always had more views than me. Do you think that that actually means that he is a position of authority on what is journalism and what isn't journalism? The Big Bang Theory was one of the most successful TV shows while it was being aired. What does that tell you other than it's just the most popular show? Yeah, let's call up Mr. Beast. Let's hear his take on the Houthis. He has the most views, obviously. He has more views than you, but he's still jealous that you are being taken seriously and not him. I don't even think so. I mean, Asmongold is a very insecure person, obviously. That's the reason why he stopped streaming on his main account, because he was worried that people were going to yell at him, or people were yelling at him too much. But since then, he has obviously elevated his status on his alt account as well. But I don't think think he necessarily cares about people taking him seriously, because if he did, he would at least like try to change up his image. You know what I mean? I think he just sees this as content. He just sees this as drama. He knows that a lot of people love getting fed a constant sea of unregulated slop that says Hassan is bad and wrong, and that's pretty much it. He does care about being perceived as intelligent. I think so. I guess if he cared about his perception, he again would change up his presentation a little bit. But I think the only thing he cares about is being liked and having high views, like high viewer counts. That's pretty much it. All right, let's continue.
Your idea of saying somebody's grifting is stupid. Like, somebody is grifting whenever they believe something and then they do the opposite. Yeah, I don't know what to say. And so one chatter, no, and the thing is, like, he gonna get mad about that. That's it. He's lying and he hates his fan base. I don't want to get into that.
He's lying and he hates his fan base? What the
The whole point. Yes.
That is literally the case.
And also, by the way, keep in mind, nothing happened to him. He didn't get fined. He was allowed re-entry into the country. He was inconvenienced for a period of time. And yeah, that's what happens when you...
Asmongold, when random Twitter accounts say he's disgusting and smelly, will make videos crying about it endlessly. But when the federal government detains you for your constitutionally protected speech, he knew exactly who the guy was. See, Asmon living rent-free in your head is too funny. What? Dude, I don't think you guys understand how rent-free works, okay? If you are making a 41-minute video about me, I'm not the one who's living rent-free. Like, look at this. He's getting banned 100%, and then it's a AI image that says 41 minutes long of him just like crying. And where is this off of? Oh, that's right. It's a tweet where I said Asmongold should take a shower. He said, shower, I choose death. But if we go back to it, okay, if we go back to the actual tweet that he's crying about, you will notice that I'm quote retweeting him talking about me again. How does that happen? It's him talking about me, talking about videos of me. Do you guys go and complain about how rent-free I am in his mind? No, you don't. You love it. Crust the Anarchist, Asmongold. Yeah, I'm gonna bring out roach spray when the roaches start scattering. Getting personally, no valid points. I think it's a pretty valid point to say Asmongold should most likely shower. You might not think that because you're probably also a disgusting little cretin. Stop stinking. Stop being stinky. You're stinky. You smell. This is his content, Lamau.
It's actually really simple. There's a squirrel.
I didn't shower for over a month. My full review. Oh my Lord, dude. Oh my Lord. Guys, stop sending me a shorter format. How many videos does this guy have talking about why he doesn't shower? Oh my Lord. Okay, we don't need to see this. We don't need to see this.
Shining sea. Eyes on enemy. That's fine. Requesting recon above.
UAV commencing surveillance operation. UAV flight time 50% on my mark.
On February 18th, 2025, a lawsuit was filed against a streamer, Destiny. It states that Destiny shared explicit images and videos of the plaintiff known online as Pixie.
Not so fast.
Pixie is requesting no less than $1 million. This is arguably the most vulnerable Destiny has been in his 15-year online career. More vulnerable than the other times those he's interacted with have attempted to expose him as a horrific manipulator.
Anna, why?
You lie. I'm telling the truth.
Okay, Anna.
His saving grace is that many of these people were not of sound mind and did not file a lawsuit. Additionally, this is not the only time Destiny has shared intimate imagery or betrayed someone's trust, as Destiny is also a serial cheater. Due to his lack of care of his actions and those close to him, he is often labeled as a sociopath and manipulator. Whatever the case, he is skilled in what he does. From his days of working in a casino to his early StarCraft 2 streams, he has shown persistence and a proclivity to understand the space he is in, and has surpassed any obstacle in his way. Until now. To understand how we got here, this video will...
Sniper, watch your angles.
Not everyone out here is playing games. And you guys need to all realize that and leave people the alone, okay? If you want to make it to 2026, I'm suggesting all you leave people alone.
Sniper, watch your angles. Eyes on enemy.
Wes Watson, that silicone ass loving piece of shit. You know what he's doing now, that asshole? He's out on the streets because, look, he's got trial coming up in early June. But that doesn't stop him because he's still out there doing stupid shit. He did a collab with Little Pump Man. Remember that nail polish wearing little lover of his? Then he goes, you know, his Sharmuta Angie. He's trying to have procedures done on her to turn her into his personal blow-up doll.
Injections. You guys are gonna love this. All the haters, you're gonna love it.
And then we all know how much he loves threatening people. Well, he thinks it's a good idea to still do it.
If you want to make it to 2026, I'm suggesting all you pussy fucks leave people alone.
And best of all, Ashton Hall. Remember the banana balls across the face rubbing piece of shit scammer that we just did a video on? Well, Wes thinks he's a good guy and how we're all a bunch of assholes for making fun of him. Wait until you guys hear all this shit. But first, Angie, all right? You guys know Angie, his Sharmuta. I feel bad for her suffering with this guy, right? Look what he's doing to her now. He's trying to turn her into his personal blow-up doll. And he's taking her to have these procedures done to make her ass bigger.
Injections. You guys are gonna love this. All the haters, you're gonna love it.
So yesterday I got a liquid BBL, and I want to share with you ladies what I've actually done.
And this is the thing, okay? We're men. We all love a nice, round, beautiful ass, right? Big one. But not this kind of big. But this is the thing. He's making her do it with silicone injections, which is, you know, one of the most dangerous things in the world to do. It's not even the silicone implants, but it's the silicone injections, which is not reversible.
Angie, you could get silicone injections sold. Done. Let's go. So I went and I got my booty done.
And he's putting her entire life in danger, encouraging her, taking her to get this shit done for his own self, which I don't understand. Because think about something. Who likes this fucking look? Who wants to fuck a pair of massive basketballs, an ass that looks like basketballs, right? Being held up by a pair of hockey stick skin. That shit is not attractive. And if you touch it, it's hard as a fucking rock. Who likes that shit? And that got me thinking. Do you guys remember when Wes was on the couch and Angie was riding him on his balls like a Sharmuta, right, in a strip club? He goes up the steps and we see the reflection on the glass where his Sting made that presentation showing us all what he had and we didn't really want to know. Think about something. That thing, that poor little thing in his pants was probably in a lot of pain. And how big can it possibly grow? And think about it. She's on his lap, grinding that hard ass, right? And every time he wants to poke out, It's like trying to poke out through a cement wall. That shit's gonna hurt, and even if it wants to get bigger, it can't. So him encouraging it is the stupidest thing he could ever do. Another thing, you guys see what his buddies did? I mean, you guys know how he tattooed to cover up his two-haired, three-haired comb over on top of his head, that cone head. He put that stupid tattoo to advertise to the world how much he loves sucking dick, right? Well, big titties. He saw it. He got jealous because he's like, I want people to know that I like doing it more than him. So you know what he did? He tattooed how much he loved sucking cock on the top of his head, that asshole. And then the Fu Manchu dumbbell carrying Joe's son, piece of shit, right? He got jealous. He saw big titties do it. He saw Wes do it. So he has to tag along. We know him, his character, how he is. So you know what he did? He tattooed 23 on the top of his head because that's the amount of times he went down on his knees for Wes and big titties the week before. He wanted to advertise it so the world can see it, that Fu Manchu bitch. So now we get on to Ashton Hall. That banana balls across the face loving man. We know how much he loves it. He showed it to us many times, right? Well, you know what Wes says about him? Of course he's gonna say this. He said that we're a bunch of assholes for making fun of him and that he's a great guy.
So I'm gonna go out of my way to show you my exact daily routine so then a bunch of people could just make memes about it and villainize me and talk shit about my life like they did the other guy. That guy's a good fucking guy. All you guys making videos about that dude, I mean, just because he used Saratoga water and dunked his head in shit, he's showing you what worked for him. The f you gonna make meme videos about that for? You didn't have enough balls to make your own video about your life, so you have to throw that guy under the bus? He's just trying to help you guys. What's the matter with you people?
So he's saying, how dare us make fun of this guy? He's a great guy, you know, doesn't deserve to be made fun of. But of course he's gonna say that, because what just happened with Ashton Hall? We caught him scamming people, coming, asking for their money back because they didn't get the services that they were supposed to get, or it wasn't done at all, and as of yet, there's been no refunds. So of course Wes Watson is gonna stick up for him, because think about something. This guy reminds him of himself. He walks around, he's got his little bitch-ass purse on his shoulder, wearing those Gucci clothes, lives in the con capital of America, Miami, right? Driving the fancy cars, and now selling programs to people to teach them to be entrepreneurs, or selling them coaching and then not providing the services and scamming them just like Wes does. So of course he's gonna stick up for him and say he's a good guy.
Like, this is why the world makes me sick. Some fat dude saying he shouldn't wear compression leg sleeves. He's doing too much. The f does your fat ass know about leg sleeve compression sleeves, you fat Oh, dude, I hate these people. Like, the guy's just helping you, and you guys make fun of him.
Now, after that video that I put out, Greg Doucette put out a video, many others have reached out to me with the same problems. They reached out to Greg with the same problems. And I've said before, always give somebody the benefit of the doubt. Let's see, is this asshole going to address it? Is he going to give people back their money? So we're going to see. But in the meantime, Wes, of course, he's going to stick up for this guy, because how could you not stick up for a guy that reminds you so much of yourself, you asshole?
You motherfuckers need to realize there's gonna be a day where you roll up to the wrong motherfucker and you think they're one of these happy-go-lucky jokester ass, and they're not gonna fucking play with you, okay? Not everyone out here is playing fucking games. You guys need to all realize that shit and leave people the alone, okay? If you want to make it to 2026, I'm suggesting all you pussy fucks leave people alone.
Guys, thanks for watching. Please hit like on my video.
We don't drinking a lot?
Not a lot. Not like Bert levels. But like last time I was sober, I was with him after the UFC fight, and Bert is just throwing back martinis.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I definitely made the right choice.
Yeah.
I definitely made the right choice. Like I'm watching him. He's slowly turning into a human grape in front of my eyes. He's fucking red in his face. He was hilarious.
He was.
I'll tell you that.
Sure.
He found out we were leaving, so he ordered 2 more to down on the way out the door. He just downed 2 martinis. I'll have 2 more. Like, just down these martinis on the way out the door. I'm like, this is fucking preposterous.
It's preposterous.
All right, so Tom Segura was just on Joe Rogan's podcast, and whenever he's on there, you know they're going to spend at least 5 to 10 minutes roasting Bert Kreischer, and it's always the best part of the episode. You know, it's always the funniest part. Like, the rest of it is just really boring, but hearing Rogan do his Bert impression is always pretty funny. You know, it's one of the few times where Rogan can actually be funny. Also, whenever he talks about Bert, he's always so shocked. He can't believe Bert's still alive. Like last time Tom was on there, Joe's like, man, I don't know how he's still going.
Bert, what did Bert go to see there? The Dead?
He's seen a few there. He saw the...
Of course he has.
I gotta go. He saw the Dead, and he saw... he went to the U2 show when they were there, too.
Oh, wow.
He said, yeah, I cried so much. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, emotional. Yeah. I cried the whole time.
Your liver's failing.
My daughters were making fun of me.
Yeah. They should.
Yeah.
They should mock you. He's a character.
He's on one. He was in a fucking bender.
How's he doing these days? He benders, he goes off, he goes on.
Yeah, he's
cleaned up for a little while, and he went right back in.
He's on a Bert cycle.
Yeah.
We were somewhere in Vegas, and somebody was like, you know, do you want this? He's like, can't. I'm hardcore keto. And I was like, okay. And then I run into him later. I'm like, how was it? He was like, dude, I was so hammered. I go, yeah, I know. He goes, yeah, I got back and I ate a dozen donuts. And I was like,
oh my God. He's still alive. I wonder how long you can do that for.
I mean,
how long can you do that for?
Other favorite phrase, he's like, I quit drinking. I go, when? He goes, Wednesday. And I'm like, it's fucking Friday. He's like, I know, but it's like 48 hours, nothing. I'm like, that's not...
That's a normal person.
That's not how that term works.
And it sounds like Joe calls Bert a lot to tell him that he needs to get sober and needs to get his shit together. You know, I'm sure after their night out, he's probably like, geez, this is not good. I gotta say something to him. And then also, I'm sure Joe randomly sees a lot of pictures of Bert drinking and shirtless and is like, yeah, I gotta give him a call. Like recently, Bert was at a WWE event and the clip went kind of viral and Bert's stomach in it looked like it was about to pop. And then the other day, Joe said he had to give Bert a call and he told him he's got to do something about that.
Kool-Aid. Remember when you used to make Kool-Aid and it was like, what was it, like a cup of sugar?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And then you throw the stuff in there. Bert Kreischer drinks that all day long. It's like a 64-ounce jug of Kool-Aid.
He was shredded.
Oh, he wasn't.
He was more shredded than he is now.
Yes. Yeah, but he's real big right now. I was just talking to him the other day. I was like, dude, you got to do something.
And since everyone's always concerned about Bert, he's always trying to prove that he's healthy. Like, he's always talking about how many push-ups he can do and how far he can run and how athletic he is. And I guess for the shape he's in, he is a decent athlete. Like, he'll surprise you, but he uses that to convince himself that he's actually healthy and the drinking is fine. I mean, most Two Bears episodes just turn into him trying to convince everyone and himself that his drinking isn't out of control. And he'll ask people to help him, but he just wants them to tell him he's in good shape and the drinking is fine. Like, he asked Andrew Huberman for help, and Joe's like, he doesn't want help. He just wants you to listen to him talk about himself.
But a good solid percentage of my friends drink a lot. They drink all the time. They drink at clubs. Like,
I tried
Shane
to get
Gillis.
Bert to quit.
Bert is not going to quit.
Well, he asked me to help him quit.
He doesn't.
Otherwise,
mean that. He just wants you to talk to him. Just talk about Bert. That's what he wants. But that's what he wants. So let's talk about me. Let's talk about me. About how I have to quit. Come on, talk to me about me. Let's make it all about Bert. That's what Bert likes. He's not going to quit.
Well, he was doing better with his health, and then he posted that photo of himself in the wetsuit. Come on, Bert. Like, get with it.
Did he get fat again? Well, he sent me a picture the other day. He was all skinny. Is he lying?
No, he's looking more like a melted candle.
Son of a bitch. He got big at least. He got jacked. He started lifting weights.
I feel bad making fun of him, but I'm not making fun of him. I'm just worried.
As long as you're talking about
I'm just worried about his health.
Oh, yeah, that's not good, Bert.
I'm worried about your health.
Well, the thing is, Bert is on tour, right? He's got painted toenails, too. What the fuck are you doing? he's on tour.
Yeah, and Bert is always on tour, which is like a party to him. You know, he's drinking the whole time. But he will occasionally get skinnier and healthier, but only for like a month, and then he'll get right back to drinking. And I don't think he's taken a break in a while now. Like, they used to do Sober October, but they haven't done that in years because they just know Bert won't be sober.
Do you think we can get Bert to go sober for a month again? Because last year he was excited to not do it.
I don't want to speak for him, but no.
Maybe he could use it though, right?
I don't know.
Wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for him.
No, it's never the worst thing for any of us to take a month off.
But for Bert, it's a big ass deal.
Yeah, it tests his will for sure, and
will to live.
Cleans him up. I think he also kind of gets off on the challenge of it because so many people are like.
Bert's another one that has that delusional. I can't lose.
He is. I remember, what was the one that I was like, what are you doing? And he was like, I can do the splits. I was like, no, you can't. I think I can. I was like, you're gonna fucking tear your hamstring.
When he told me he could, I really believed for a second he could. I was like, really? Wow.
So I think now that Rogan is having trouble getting through to Bert, he's like, okay, I'll just keep making fun of him then. Like, him and Tom, they're also laughing about how Bert will constantly tell everybody how his doctor always says he's perfectly healthy. And Joe and Tom are like, who the hell is this doctor? Like, there's no way that's possible. You know, it's almost like Bert just tries every doctor until he finds one that tells him he's healthy.
Talk to him, he goes, I got all my blood work done. Perfect. Everything's perfect.
I know.
Like, how's that possible?
He always says that. And I saw somebody comment the other day on our podcast. They go, the documentary about Bert's doctor who says blood work is perfect is going to be unbelievable.
It's a complete charlatan.
It's got to be, dude. It's got to be.
Dirty lab coat with a fucking mouse in his pocket. Like some
it's
crazy guy.
Complete lunatic. Who's like, you're great.
Oh my God, that's so funny. That's so funny.
Yeah, we had dinner and he was like, wine? Anybody wine? And I was like, I'm good. And he's like, yeah, we'll do a bottle of wine for the 10. Nobody had wine, so he just dumps the bottle into his glass. And he can drink it in like 5 minutes.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
It's bizarre. Well, it's obvious, like, it's got to be an adaptive thing, right? Like running is. Like,
yeah.
If you run never, you can't run a marathon.
Right.
But if you run a lot, you can run a marathon.
Sure.
You get used to it. Your body gets accustomed to putting in the miles 5 before work every day.
You know, we always talk about that freak show shit he has in him. Like, he's a freak.
Yeah, he's freak. Yeah.
We did the 5K in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
We had like 8,000 people come out this year. That's crazy.
Amazing. And then they start talking about how Bert is somehow still athletic, which it probably isn't a good thing to let him know that, because then he thinks the drinking isn't that big of a deal. And in Bert's delusional mind, he might even think it helps somehow. He might try to convince himself of that. You know, he probably thinks he's biohacking by pounding a bunch of beer before running a 5K. I mean, that's how he is. So Tom brought up this event that they had where they ran a 5K and did a bunch of competitions. And Bert beat these NFL players at a competition to see who can hold out this beer mug the longest. So Tom and Joe were really impressed by it, but also it looks like Bert's arm was kind of bent the whole time. But shit like this and people praising Bert for this definitely makes him think like, oh, I'm perfectly healthy. Like, look what I just did here. So it probably doesn't help the fact that he's still kind of athletic. And then at the end of this, Joe's like, yeah, I wish he'd stop drinking, but also I guess it's working for him. You know, he made a ton of money just being a drunk. So, I mean, I don't want him to change, but I also want him to be healthy.
And then
look at him, he's still smiling.
Oh yeah,
nothing wrong. That's insane.
Yeah, and then yeah, they slowly fell.
I bet if he did his left arm, it would fall off. I bet he literally wouldn't go. He's been holding up drinks so long.
Yeah.
Also, like toasting crowds for so long. Look at this.
Yeah.
He beat everybody. He should hold out and just humiliate them after he's done. Just keep going.
Oh, he held it up after he was done.
That big guy looks like he's ready to break. He gave up.
Yeah.
Look at Bert.
Didn't even.
Look at this.
Yeah. Just insane.
He's got incredible genetics. Like if he wanted to be an athlete, he'd be an incredible athlete.
Yeah, I think so. If he was like super dedicated to it, yeah.
Yeah, he's just trapped in booze. But it's also made him very rich, so I was like, I don't know what to say.
Yeah, it's working out.
I love him.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want him to change, but I do. I mean, I want him to be healthy. But like when we first started doing Sober October, it was essentially just because we were worried Bert was going to die.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, he's still here.
I mean, the first one was the weight loss thing.
Blood works perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And it is wild that Bert can keep this up. Like most people his age, if they were to drink a fraction of the amount he does, they would die. So Bert probably thinks it's impressive that he can still drink this much. But I mean, if he were to quit, I'm sure the withdrawal would be brutal, but it could be a challenge for him. You know, I think people would be really impressed if he actually could get sober and change things up. I don't think that'll ever happen though, but let me know what you guys think. And if you want to hear about how Rogan recently freaked out because he thought a woke reporter infiltrated his comedy club, make sure you check out my Patreon. There are over 130 exclusive videos on there. And I've been talking a lot about Tim Pool recently. He keeps having meltdowns. And recently he was wondering why so many of his friends are secretly gay. And I just posted a video about that. It was hilarious. So if you're a fan of the channel and you like...
All right, let's go.
That's part of what a lot of the civil unrest in Israel is about, is that a lot of people do care about the hostages and think that the government needs to stop the war and focus on getting the hostages back and not killing innocent civilians. So that
I wonder about that last part. I wonder if the Israeli body politic...
Oh, you think the Israelis want civilians to die? There were massive demonstrations in Israel. Tens of thousands of people in a country that's relatively small. So I think characterizing like the majority of the public as wanting to kill civilians is a little sick, personally.
Ethan Klein appears to harbor contradictions. In his recent conversation with Sam Cedar of The Majority Report, he claims to have optimism with regard to Israeli society. Israelis do not wish death on Palestinian civilians. He claims this is evident in the protests in Israel for the end of hostilities in Gaza. Though in more casual conversation, he not only tolerates but appears to share a more jaded outlook.
The thing is, in Ramallah, there's a lot of, there's going to be like Hamas operatives and Islamic jihadists and stuff that live there. So I don't even know necessarily if it's like the ordinary people, but yeah, they will kill you.
I just got out of the bathroom. What did I miss?
Whether sincere or not, I found his incredulousness at the notion of Israeli society supporting the killing of Palestinian civilians interesting. Following October 7th, what Americans could glean from reactions inside Israel to the carnage in Gaza was no less than completely horrifying. Members of the Knesset called for nuking Gaza. A prominent general wrote opinion pieces calling for inducing epidemics of disease and making the strip uninhabitable. Israel's finance minister shared the article and expressed his agreement. Israelis took to social media to mock Palestinians, gloating over their running water and electricity, which was cut off to Gaza. Though, for some reason, I held on to an assumption that these were narrow and incomplete glimpses into Israeli society. I suppose I had an optimistic view that Israelis would surely harbor a capacity for empathy with Palestinians, to some degree. What I saw in the spring of 2024 was therefore a gut punch. It was a report from Pew Research Center titled, "Israeli Views of the Israel-Hamas War." I read it carefully, and a figure leaped out at me. Israeli Arabs, Palestinians, are much more likely than Jews to say the country's military response has gone too far. 74% versus 4%.
4% of Israeli Jews think that the war effort was too far.
Honestly, reading it now, I still can't believe it. And for that, I feel incredibly naive. I guess it fundamentally altered what I believed about humanity, about people. It was genuinely horribly depressing. For me, it was a sign of the damage that's been done and the work that is ahead. Or maybe there are other ways to interpret.
This is the exact same problem that came out of the Louis Theroux documentary about the settlers, where every single fucking pro-Israel fucking shill is talking about how that's not fair. That's not fair. He's portraying us to be monsters. It's so one-sided. And then when you watch the documentary, he's just literally putting the camera in front of people and putting the microphone in front of people and saying, well, what are your thoughts on this? And then they just go full like Hitler particles. It's kind of giving Ethan Klein saying that's defamation. Playing videos of me speaking is defamation.
It certainly was not a moment of optimism for me. Already in December of 2023, Human Rights Watch reported the Israeli government is using starvation of civilians as a method of warfare in the Gaza Strip, which is a war crime. Israeli forces are deliberately blocking the delivery of water, food, and fuel. By the new year, the images of destruction in Gaza were no less than apocalyptic, as we all clearly remember as it was widely reported, owing to a bombing campaign that you'd have to go back to the Vietnam War to make a comparison, in the words of Mark Garlasco, who's frequently interviewed by news outlets for his unique expertise in weapons. He worked for U.S. intelligence, the United Nations, and Human Rights Watch, for which he investigated Israel's 2006 bombing of Lebanon. Other quotes from experts were similarly astonishing. In 2 months, we've had about the level of strikes in this tiny little area in Gaza as what we saw in Mosul and Raqqa combined, said Larry Lewis, research director at the Center for Naval Analyses and formerly the U.S. State Department's senior advisor on civilian harm. Even CNN in this article placed the number of killed as of January 2024 at nearly 25,000. 1 year after October 7th, many more tens of thousands had been killed. The number couldn't possibly be known for certain. A credible study from the Lancet, reported by the New York Times, said many tens of thousands more than the oft-cited but conservative Ministry of Health numbers. Gaza had been so destroyed that even the U.S. president was calling it a
demolition site. It's a pure demolition site.
But protests had erupted in Israel to end the so-called war. Real quick, why do I say so-called war? In Gaza, we certainly haven't seen regular warfare, obviously. Hamas has no regular army. But we've hardly seen what can be called an asymmetric conflict. It's important to note that numberless Gazans have bravely resisted the Israeli military despite unimaginable and impossible odds, including the following. The Palestinians in Gaza have been hermetically sealed inside without any way out. They have no peripheral sanctuary state for which to regroup and rearm themselves. They are completely trapped. They've had to dig tunnels going underground to find a sanctuary. This in a strip of land the size of Philadelphia that also holds an entire civilian population. Of course, the existence of this small strip is a result of the Nakba, as some 70% of the population are not from Gaza, but are refugees from the ethnic cleansing that took place, particularly in the cleansing operations, that's what they were called, in Isdud, Ascalon, Beersheba, and throughout the Negev. So, Gazans are fighting from a place that is in no way conducive for combat, for reasons completely out of their control. The Israeli onslaught that began on October 7th was a culmination of lessons learned in previous destruction. We can clearly see how the so-called wars of 2008 and 9 and 2014 were punitive rather than driven by military necessity. Tank crews spent their time firing their cannons at buildings and destroying civilian infrastructure, said a soldier who took part in the 2008-9 Operation Cast Lead. Go ahead and ask soldiers how often they encountered combatants in Gaza. Nothing. The interviewer, when you entered the Gaza Strip, there was no resistance? Next to none at all. Following Cast Lead, veteran defense analyst Amos Harel quoted a squad leader who said, "The atmosphere in general, from what I understood from most of my men who I talked to, the lives of Palestinians, let's say, is something very, very less important than the lives of our soldiers." The Independent quoted a junior officer who served at a brigade headquarters during the operation, who described the new rules of engagement policy following the announcement of the notorious Dahia doctrine of disproportionality as one of literally zero risk to soldiers. Just take this incredible interview with a bulldozer operator. Our objective was to demolish houses. We were secured by heavy armored personnel carriers and tanks. In this case, the tanks were assigned to us rather than the other way around. The area was completely empty. Everything was empty. Interviewer, ghost town, not a soul in sight? Yes. We demolished a lot. There were people who had been in Gaza for 2 days constantly demolishing one house after the other. And we're talking about a whole battalion. In a separate interview, a soldier is asked, "Did you happen to escort bulldozers demolishing houses? Do you know what they destroyed? Why? How many?" If they didn't like the looks of some house, if it disturbed or threatened them, then it would be taken down. Interviewer, but that was for operational needs? Operational needs, I don't know, maybe half of them. Sometimes the company commander would give the D9 something to demolish just to make them happy. This isn't to mention the demolition and damage carried out by shelling. One participant of the 2014 carnage, a first sergeant of the engineering corps, said, "I got the impression that every house we passed on our way got hit by a shell, and houses farther away too. It was methodical. There was no threat."
And there have been plenty of Palestinian and Gazan people online that have shared their stories and shared their experiences and have been, in some cases, making content online. And so many of these people have shared their stories about how their house has gotten leveled 4, 5, 6 times, and that there have never been terrorists. They don't know anyone that's a terrorist. They don't know anyone that's Hamas. They don't have any family members that are Hamas. They don't have any friends. And every time they level it, they say, okay, well, we'll just have to rebuild again. Did you see the new IDF gender reveal by bombing houses? Every time I think that the IDF can't get worse, I am proven wrong.
They were spraying every house with machine gun fire the whole time. And once in a while,
quote, literally done for morale boosting because these motherfuckers are bored,
while blasting a shell into each house. A first sergeant in the Armored Corps recalls, "We were all firing a lot when there wasn't any need for it, just for the sake of firing. We were firing purposelessly all day long. Hamas was nowhere to be seen. This can hardly be called warfare. These were brief, one-sided punishment campaigns." Israeli civilian and military commanders seemingly acknowledge this with their oft-repeated phrase, mowing the lawn or cutting the grass, which also alludes to its routine nature. Yosi Glausius explains the phrase very helpfully in a rage-filled opinion article. She had seen eclairs in a bakery in Israel that read, "Let the IDF mow them down."
This is why every time they actually do run into a Hamas fighter, they shit their pants. They go in knowing that there's nothing to actually fear.
The Hebrew word written on the eclairs means mow, as in lawn mow. But mowing is also a euphemism for something more brutal. Mowing the grass is a term popularized in 2013 to refer to Israel's strategy of attrition designed primarily to debilitate the enemy capabilities. To put it more crudely, mowing the grass means bombing Gaza periodically to facilitate temporary quiet for Israel. This desire to punish the civilian population at large was explicitly articulated, and the policy solidified following Israel's strategic defeat in the Second Lebanon War. Giora Island is former national security advisor to Ariel Sharon and Ehud Olmert. Before this, he was head of the IDF's planning and operations branches. He now continues writing policy prescriptions in opinion pieces, particularly for Ynet and their affiliated Yediot Aharonot. You'll know his so-called general's plan to starve North Gaza. He's the general.
Surrender or to die in starvation. This is the all simple plan, which is fully consistent with all the international demands and fully consistent with the law of the armed conflict.
That the military quickly began implementing the plan is a testament to his influence in the Israeli defense establishment.
Eran Etzion was deputy head of Israel's National Security Council until 2008.
The ousted Defense Minister Gallant denied on camera that the government is actually implementing this plan. Netanyahu denied it also in a closed session with Secretary of State Blinken. And then when asked by Blinken to say it publicly.
Yo, I love this dude. The YouTuber, I mean, LOL. It was bad timing. It was scary timing on your part, Cole. Guy says the most genocidal thing possible. Yo, I love this dude. Wait. I mean, I meant the YouTuber. Sorry. I'm sorry. Wait,
Netanyahu refused.
Back in 2008, he wrote that in the event of another war with Lebanon, the suffering of hundreds of thousands of people are consequences that can influence Hezbollah's behavior. Israel's most recent offensive began with bombing, starting on October 7th. The ground invasion didn't begin until the 27th. This was accompanied by a further tightening of the siege, which had already been in place for some 17 years. Hassan Alian, head of COGIT, the agency responsible for facilitating aid distribution, said plainly that these measures were revenge for October 7th.
مع هيك وحوش بشرية رايح إسرائيل فرضت إغلاق كامل على غزة ومش راح يكون في عندكم كهرباء ولا مي بس دمار. بدكم جهنم راح تحصلوا على جهنم.
A sense of retribution and revenge must have fueled the other measures with regard to targeting. Yagil Levi, writing in Haaretz, challenges Israel's oft-repeated distinction as the world's most moral army. To reduce the risk even further during the ground offensive, air and artillery attacks preceded the entry of the ground forces into every area and accompanied them during the ensuing fighting. In the words of a reserve combat soldier who entered the city of Beit Hanun and published an opinion piece anonymously in Haaretz, the level of destruction we saw was biblical, and our contribution to it was nil. Air, artillery, and engineering forces that preceded us and hit buildings from a distance prepared the ground for us so that we could enter with minimal risks. As a result, as of October 7th, 2024, Israel had lost 349 soldiers in the ground operation, a paltry 2% of the Israeli claim of 17,000 Hamas combat casualties. As Levi points out, however, this was simply the number of men killed, according to Gaza's Ministry of Health. They had all been labeled combatants. The Ministry of Health's numbers are conservative, however. An analysis published in The Lancet and reported in the New York Times says they may have undercounted traumatic war-related deaths by 40%. The number may have reached over 70,000 by the end of 2024.
Sorry, really quickly. I like how we're watching this video on like how insane and cruel IDF members are. And of course, H3 fans are like, wait, I'm just like that too. Hold up, what if I advertise that I want to commit a criminal offense that can get me in trouble with the FBI? Someone dox Denims. Anyone who knows where she lives, please dox her. Dox her. Everyone, please report this account. I'm also screenshotting it to prove that Ethan Klein maliciously sends his audience and has attempted to harass me on multiple occasions and threatens me on multiple occasions. So please report this account. This Twitch account should not exist, obviously. Very bizarre failure of a human being. This is how you're spending your Mother's Day. Very bizarre behavior. Well, account created September 29, 2015. Say goodbye to the decade that you were on here. And report for chat messages. Terrorism, unity, hateful conduct, bullying, harassment, violence or gore, self-harm. I think this would, no, that one doesn't fall under that. I wonder what it would be under. Revealing personal information, I think. Swatting? Okay. Well, yeah, if you guys could report this account. Here, I'll post the account in well, you guys, is there an easy way to report when you don't have the account on hand? You try and open it in a separate tab. At this point, it's like, I think it's funny to lose your account of a decade because you can't be normal. So, yeah, you can report them through this link. You're not going to be able to read the chat messages. Oh, I think you can actually just report it from the twitch.tv link as well. Perfect, thank you. So if you guys would like to do that, she's acting as if Twitch is going to do anything. The number of times I'll be talking to an account and then it says this account doesn't exist anymore. You're spending your Mother's Day talking about Ethan. No, actually, I'm talking about the genocide in Gaza, but you can try again. You can try again. So yeah, feel free to report this account or threats. You should be able to just click the triple dots, chat messages. It's hard to pick one because none of these explicitly say docs. It's kind of infuriating and kind of annoying, but that's okay. Coordinating harassment is like not enough, I think, because harassment is like, I feel like almost harassment is different from threatening to dog someone. Harassment is like people saying mean things. They were revealing personal information. It's one of these two. And then the chat messages. Here we go. Perfect. I will submit this. Okay. Thank you everybody for participating. Work in TNS, this would be personal info. Okay. Continuing back to the video, continuing back to people being ghoulish. All right.
Worse yet, the analysis did not account for other war-related casualties, such as deaths from malnutrition, waterborne illness, or the breakdown of the health system as the conflict progressed. That this could be called a war is patently absurd. Israeli leaders have made their targeting and punishment of the civilian population known with their widely reported statements. Already by June of 2024, some 70,000 tons of bombs were dropped on a piece of land less than half the size of New York City. That number is more than were dropped on Dresden, Hamburg, London in World War II. Combined, the massive destructive power, with 2,000-pound bombs being common, erased...
Oh, also chat, sorry. Someone else brought this to my attention. More freaks on Twitter. Dude, I love these chatters. Dude, on Mother's Day. Oh, man. Imagine engaging in this behavior on Mother's Day. Your personality is actually uglier than your roast beef kitty you post on OnlyFans. Dude, your mom just like had a heart attack. You know, like you break your back. Sorry, you step on a crack, you break your mother's back. Post about pussy on Mother's Day, give your mom a heart attack. It's true. This criticism doesn't even make sense because I don't even do nudity. So like, I don't know, this guy must have cameras in my house or some shit. I don't fucking know. Weird people. Weird people in here. Seek help. More importantly though, someone I guess is trying to siphon money. Weird H3 fan or Sex Pestiny fan. Please report this GoFundMe. Someone made a second GoFundMe. Normal people, guys. Normal people. Normal people, normal behavior. This one has no money in it, so you can immediately know which one it is. Legal Fund Part 2. I made Part 2 of this fundraiser to raise extra funds and speed up the process. This is how you know you're on the winning side, when you start making fake GoFundMes. When you start committing fraud, character impersonation. Isn't that illegal? What I don't understand is, if I'm gonna lose the lawsuit, why do you need to do this? Interesting. How do you report it? If you scroll all the way down, there should be a report fundraiser button on the very bottom. All right. Is it actually Instaclop? For some reason, it still shows up for me. Pay means spy. Yeah. That's weird. It's still, you guys are saying it's Instaclap and it's obliterated. I think my computer might just be like slow or something. That's probably some random person trying to fool folks. I mean, yeah. Okay. Guys, did we hit 40K? Oh my God. Wait, you can climb live.com. Oh my God, dude. I need to put on my soundboard. Ethan Klein saying, nobody likes you. No one wants you to succeed. No one wants to help you. No one wants. I need to take a picture in a suit like this and grip my phone like this. I gotta moisturize though. My hands are not as moisturized as his are. His are way more moisturized. He definitely has way more pillow princess hands than I do. But I gotta do that and be like, Ethan shaking and crying right now. Ethan shaking and crying right now. Oh God. Oh, if you open the fake donation link in the private window, there won't be a caching. You'll see that it's been removed. Oh, okay. Let me try that. Sorry to take away from the stream when we're talking about stuff that's actually important, but of course, when we want to talk about stuff that's important, it's like, yeah, quick, everybody, we need to do stuff to take our attention away. Fundraiser not found. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for taking the page down. Sounds like it is. It's gone. Woo. Goodbye, scammer. Easy fucking clap, dude. All right. I like that they tried to like do it anyways, as if anyone would be stupid enough to think that I would make a part 2 to raise money faster. All right, sorry. Okay. Getting back to this video.
Entire towns.
Wait, is this actually? This is the Twitter account that came in here. Or sorry, not Twitter. The Twitch account. I didn't need to do that. Oops. Well, whatever. That's fine. This is the Twitch account that came in here and said, "Doc, someone docs." Guess what? Their page is taken down. Rip fucking Bozo, dude. Oh my God. Imagine sacrificing your decade-old account for some stupid fucking comment. Great job, moron. Oh my fucking God. That's so pathetic. That is the most pathetic thing I've ever seen in my life. Sad behavior, guys. Will you please say thank you, Ethan Klein? Honestly, for helping us take out the trash, these chatters. Honestly?
Thank you, Ethan Klein. You are my best friend. You are the rent payer. You are the legend. Thank you, Ethan Klein. You are my best friend. You are the rent payer. You are the legend. Thank you, Ethan Klein, defender of genocide, helping small creators grow a larger size. In 2025, promoting the left side, Denhamsby and Froden, Hasanabi and mine. Thank you, Ethan Klein. You are my best friend. You are the rent payer. You are the legend. Thank you, Ethan Klein. You are my best friend. You are the rent payer. You are the legend.
What if I eat you, America? Let me teach you worm. He's purring. Or as I like to call it, he's motoring. His motor's running. This is when he's happiest. When I pick him up like this, he's like, yay, finally. My love and attention. Yay. Oh, yeah. I know, your life is so hard, Mayor Worm. Sometimes I stream for more than 4 hours. This is fucked up. messed up. All right, let me get this video back. All right, sorry. Let's go back a little.
Less than half the size of New York City. That number is more than were dropped on Dresden, Hamburg, London in World War II. Combined, the massive destructive power, with 2,000-pound bombs being common, erased entire towns. Amos Harel, chief defense correspondent for Haaretz, went to Jabalia and took photos and reported that the town, previously home to 100,000 people, was gone. Others shared the same fate as described by Ahmad Tibi, one of the few Palestinian members of the Israeli Knesset. Entire towns like Beit Hanun, Beit Lahia, and Jabalia have been wiped off the face of the earth in bombings by the IDF. Cities comparable in population size to Herzliya and Dimona have been bombed into rubble. And the world, with its silence and its armaments and its material support, is supporting this. The media in Israel wobbles between total denial and depicting the actions as heroic, justified, essential deeds. We have arrived at an absurd rule. Nothing justifies October 7th, but in the name of October 7th, everything is justifiable. There is no security.
Yes, correct. 100% correct. I mean, it's like he literally had the conversation with Sam Cedar where Ethan Klein said explicitly, well, I think that they had to respond. Well, what were they supposed to do? Not respond? I think they had to do what they did. It was inevitable.
The justification for such massive bombing. No military action can justify bombing helpless human beings or the eradication of Beit Lahia, Beit Hanun, and Jabalia from the face of the earth. This ethnic cleansing is reminiscent of the ethnic cleansing of 530 villages in 1948. In the Jewish Israeli public, voices of protest and resistance are hardly audible. Israeli outlets reported on Netanyahu scuttling negotiations, and it was an open secret that he did so in order to placate his ministers. A hostage deal would cause his government